Welcome to Was It Good? Podcast that talks about movies and TV shows. On this episode, we are talking about Marvel's first R-rated movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm Arjuna, joined by my brothers,
Krishna
and Ravi.
and we are Was It Good? No? Okay. I will do it. I'll do it live.
You're the audio guy, and you just screamed into your mic, and I am 1,000% sure you just peaked.
Did I?
You have peaked. This is your peak. You're done. There's no. We can't go higher than this.
It's true. It's over. Retire.
Well, speaking of peaking, the state of the MCU. A lot of people said it peaked 5 years ago, right? Then Spider-Man No Way Home came out in 2021, and people were like, Marvel's back. And then it decidedly was not back after so many misses. So I want to start with the question that is on everyone's mind. I think this is the place to start the pod. Is the MCU back, right? I mean, just real quick, Deadpool and Wolverine is, spoiler alert, doing extremely well in the box office. We're recording this podcast Saturday, July 27th, morning of. The movie has already domestically made $96 million from Thursday and Friday alone. It's on pace to break $200 million domestic by the end of the weekend. Internationally, it's already made $115.1 million for $211.1 total. This is on a budget of $200 million. It already has broken the record for Thursday night previews for a R-rated movie, making $38.5 million. This movie is going to break $1 billion pretty quickly. It's going to be one of Marvel's probably most successful movies. It's probably going to go down as the most successful R-rated movie of all time. Lots of money. Rotten Tomatoes, another indicator, right, of scores. 79% critic score, which is okay. Yeah, not super high, not super low. The audience score, though, is a 97%, which is the second highest ever for an MCU movie, behind only Spider-Man No Way Home. Having said all of that, this was the only MCU movie that came out in 2024. I want to turn it to you guys. What do you guys is this definitively that the MCU is back, right? We've seen all these previous MCU movies over the last few years. They've kind of sagged in the box office. They haven't done well critically. Is this an indicator of things to come, or is this a flash in the pan? Is this just a popular IP joining the MCU at the right time?
I'll go first.
Okay, yeah, go first. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think this is an indication of diddly squat. This shit doesn't mean anything. Listen, the movie, I saw the movie. It's super fun. Clearly very entertaining. Clearly a lot of people like it. Nothing against this specific movie, but let's be honest. Deadpool is a bit character. He's not an Avenger. He's not an X-Man. It's a rated R franchise. It has to exist on the fringes of Marvel, right? And I think no greater if they bring Deadpool into an Avengers, into the X-Men, which would probably be PG-13 movies, all of a sudden right there you're going to lose 50% of Deadpool's edge, right? You're going to take away at least 50% of his entertainment value. So is this an indication that Marvel is back? No, because Deadpool, like the character himself, is like a jigsaw puzzle that doesn't fit very neatly into the established MCU. Is this an indication that the MCU is going in a different direction? I highly doubt it. Maybe it is. We'll see. But I doubt it. I think they're constrained by it's Disney. The rated R stuff for Disney has to be rare and flashes in the pan.
Kevin Feige, everyone's favorite super producer, has confirmed that there are more R-rated movies coming out, as he's the only man that believes Blade with Mahershala Ali is still coming. He has confirmed that movie, if it does come out, will be rated R.
Well, I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine made a real strong case to just keep
R-rated movies.
Keep the OG Blade.
Great joke. I'm the only Blade.
We should probably say, right, spoilers galore in this pod, obviously.
Nah.
True.
I mean, we're not obviously... I'm just going to call some shade out to various internet publishers who like to throw spoilers out on Thursday night on TikTok.
Publishers?
Oh, yeah. Like people like Screen Rant, IGN. They were showing from the Hall H. So during Hall H at Comic-Con. And we've already said spoilers. So if you're at this point and you haven't listened to it, I can't help you. But a lot of people were taking video that obviously they weren't supposed to. These publishers got a hold of those videos, and they were putting them out where Ryan Reynolds was introducing all of the like cameos, like Wesley Snipes, Chris Evans, etc. So, and then these publishers were like, "We're going to put it up," and it's like, okay, well, that's a dickhead move.
Yeah, that is not great.
But to Arjuna's point on the question of like, is the MCU back? I think Arjuna kind of summed it up without even realizing it really well by spewing all those numbers and facts. It's just numbers and facts and pieces of information. It's a marketing spin. I think it takes more than just a single movie, right, for the whole franchise to come back. And unfortunately, I don't know. Like the movies that are coming, like we have the next Captain America film, and that in itself has already had a bunch of problems with reshoots, characters, and stories, and all those fun things. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, this phase, if phases are still a thing in the MCU, is supposed to end with the Thunderbolts. That's another film that's had tons of like production and story and other issues. So it's possible that this is just a kind of one-off, like you said, like a fun film as opposed to we're back type mentality.
Yeah, Ravi, I think that's a great point, in terms of just the MCU and is it back? Like we're 33, 34 films into essentially this one continuous saga. I do think this is not an entry point, right, for people to come in for their first time into the MCU and be like, woohoo, this is really fun. There's obviously so much to talk about with this movie. And one of the actual central questions I have for you guys later is this a movie? Which will be a fun discussion. But before we even get into that, let's go through our one-word impressions, right? For this movie, for this experience. Again, it doesn't have to be just for the movie itself. It can be the experience. It can be the lead up to this film. This is our first MCU pod in a while, right? The last MCU project we got was live action was Echo at the very beginning of the year. We had X-Men 97, which was an animated show that came out a few months ago. Really, really great. But it's been kind of thin for the MCU this year, right? This is the one and only film that's come out. So, go anywhere you kind of want with your one-word impression here. I'm actually going to start us off, and I'm going to go with the easy one here. I'm going to go with Honda.
Honda.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Honda.
I'm going to go with Honda. And I think that encompasses the corporation behind the movie, right? There's this extended Honda Odyssey joke within Deadpool and Wolverine, which is essentially, especially for us who all work in production, a glorified ad read, if you will, right? This is a product placement basically placed in the movie, an ad space that was sold that they wanted to promote in Deadpool and Wolverine, and they incorporated it into the plot, right? They drive a Honda Odyssey, they have a fight/sex scene in the car. It kind of starts with Deadpool insulting the car and being like, oh, it's actually great, and then highlighting a few features. I'm sure Honda Odyssey sales are going to increase out of this movie because people are going to be like, I want to drive the car that Deadpool and Wolverine kind of caravan.
I think you're giving the Honda Odyssey and the overall minivan industry a big like. I don't think that's going to happen.
I think you'd be shocked. I think you'd be shocked how ad placements work.
Can we put like a reminder somewhere where we check on this in like 6 months and see like
Absolutely.
does Honda report like an actual like from whatever quarter in like growth in sales?
That's going to happen.
Advertising is like 90% numbers and volume. So most people switch off during ads. So but a couple will be like, oh, and it's like subliminal messaging. What car should I buy? For some reason, I'm drawn to the Honda Odyssey. I don't know why.
But I think this movie is very much like the other Deadpool movies, right? It really focuses on your cultural understanding and currency. It is a movie of the moment that, besides even the Honda thing, it's with the cameos, it's with a lot of the jokes, the in-meta kind of universe references, where if you're not kind of plugged in, you're going to miss a lot of the movie, right? And so that's why I kind of had asked the question a little earlier of like, is this even a movie? Because there's so much outside of the scope of the movie that you need to kind of understand it. This is actually, going back to the question of is the MCU back? this is kind of what the MCU is. People want this stuff that's built off of 34 movies, 16 years of references, even beyond that, right? This obviously goes into the Fox universe. And I think the Honda example exemplifies that in a lot of ways. Maybe we'll have more Honda Odyssey in movie ads to pay for all the cameos that are needed, because that's what people want. Krishna, let's go with you. What's your one-word impression for Deadpool and Wolverine?
So, preface this with, again, I really enjoyed the movie. It was very entertaining, extremely fun. And to pretty much take exactly what Arjuna said, but give it the correct one-word impression in Deadpool's own humor, my one-word impression is hand job. Because the movie serviced MCU fans exactly how they wanted it.
Oh my god!
Think about that, right? Like,
Krishna likes hand jobs. Got it.
All the shit that MCU fans have been clamoring for, like, oh, the good old days. Oh, give me my Steve Rogers and my Thor and my Hulk. Oh, I need it. And then even Blade. We already have Blade. We don't need another Blade. It was just a giant hand job for those fans, and that is why they're happy now and satisfied. And yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting thing to come out of this movie is to see what the MCU does going forward with this intel. Surprise alert! This is what there's no surprise why some of that recent stuff has been getting review bombed, right? And it's not just Marvel; it's a bunch of the Disney IPs. So anyway, but this movie, yeah, pretty much, it was fun. It was very entertaining, but it was a giant hand job, and for all the reasons that Arjuna listed. And I think the cameos themselves, they were fun. They were really fun. The Chris Evans, appearing, like, oh man, Steve Rogers, wow. It's like, no, it's Johnny Storm. Like, that was a cool, like, little turnaround. That was. I could sense all the Marvel fans exploding with excitement. So
we're in your half filled theater,
quarters. Okay, Denver can get it done at 3:40 on a Friday.
Nice.
So yeah, hand job.
Krishna, that was a good one-word impression. Didn't appreciate the shot at my one-word impression from your one-word impression. So I'm going to say that your one-word impression was a sloppy hand job that people don't like, actually. Ravi, what is your one?
People would want a sloppy hand job.
We're so curious to hear.
Right? Like, you wouldn't want it dry. So, hey, fuck you both, because you both brought up hand jobs, so I'm going to make it fucking worse.
Let's describe your ideal.
Oh, no.
This pod has gone way off the rails here.
Ravi, your one-word impression has to begin with an H, by the way, because the other two have.
So my one-word impression is going to be, in the words of the great Saw Gerrera, lies, deception. But mostly deception. I look at this film as deception, primarily because of, like, the things that were said previous to this movie going out, where Feige's on record for saying, like, if the importance level of Infinity War and Endgame is at the 9 and the 10, Deadpool 3 is at an 8. And, like, you have this in the
I wanted to talk about this because I actually think this is a good segue
to bring it up. But it's like, is this film actually important to the future of the MCU? I would argue no, but then it also got me thinking, does anything with the MCU really matter? It's a fucking movie, and it's like, and I had this whole, like, existential shit happening where I was like, why do I care about a fucking movie franchise? I got real life problems happening in my life.
It's true.
Besides the point, I don't know why I went on that tangent.
I actually think Kevin Feige did a lot of damage to this movie in terms of just that he had that comment. Mm-hmm. He also had the mutants comment and said this is going to be the first movie that finally features and brings the mutants into the MCU. And I don't know what Kevin Feige is talking about, because this movie isn't really connected to the MCU, right? This is a farewell to the Fox properties. Yeah. This is a farewell to the early 2000s X-Men movies, Daredevil, Fantastic Four, Blade, Elektra, all of those like movies that we kind of grew up on pre-MCU, right? Pre-2008 Iron Man coming in and created a connected universe. And it's more about that than like Deadpool actually joining the MCU because, again, spoiler alert, he's still in his Earth. He's still in Earth 100005 at the end of the movie. He hasn't joined Earth 616, which is the MCU designated Earth, despite them teasing that, right? The MCU connection is obviously the TVA, but again, they set this movie up like they have these other previous movies over the last 5 years where they can go either direction. They actually played it super safe, where if this movie bombed, they could just be like, well, Deadpool is on Earth 100005. We never have to bring him back. Or if this movie makes $2 billion, which it potentially could, Deadpool is our new central character for the MCU, right?
He's new MCU Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. So like like it annoys me when Feige is like, this is an A on the importance. We're trying something big when it's really just the same kind of, we're going right down the middle. We are protecting ourselves by, opening it up and having it go in every direction. We're going to distract you with some cameos here and there. The mutant thing is what gets me the most because this is like the 5th straight project we've heard. This is the start of the mutants, right? We had Miss Marvel, right? Which was like, this is the start of the mutants. They revealed her as a mutant. We had Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness with Xavier coming in as Charles Xavier. This is the start of mutants. We had the Marvels, which was like, this is the start of the mutants, with Beast showing up in the post-credit scene. How many teases can we get of the mutants are coming and here's a post-credit scene or a little teaser for you before we actually get the fucking mutants? Like, just stop teasing us about it. Stop saying that every movie is about the mutants and just let the movie stand on its own 2 legs. Like, it's actually ridiculous at this point. Like, it's actually stupid.
It's because all of those movies aren't about mutants. They're just
That's what's annoying. Like, but Kevin Feige didn't need to have these comments. Like, you can, if you scrub these comments out of existence, right? This movie is fine, and I'm not saying it's a bad movie or anything, or it wasn't enjoyable. But hearing those comments just takes me out of the experience, right? Because you're setting up these expectations of this is an Infinity War Endgame level type of movie. And this is a No Way Home type of movie, right? This is a movie that is built on nostalgia. It is built on bringing back all of this great stuff. It's like going to a high school reunion, right? You're seeing all your old friends, and then you're saying goodbye because you never want to see any of those crazy people ever again. And that's what this movie is.
Like, I think you hit the nail on the head with like the over saturation of like the term mutants and this idea of like bringing all these like comic book terms in to like kind of try and sell the movie. But I think the other thing that this movie did, and like what you're saying, Arjuna, what I'm about to say is all very subjective, and I think it's just more personal preference. But like the overexposure of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman and the amount of marketing behind them on every single fucking YouTube goofy ass interview of every product placement thing that they could possibly do, every single major brand getting in on it. It's too much. It is just way too much of Reynolds, mostly Reynolds and his face and the Deadpool stuff, to the point where it's like you didn't see like the full movie and all the marketing and everything, but it's just too much, like where it's like it's just too much stuff. And like when you go to see the movie, like, I've already seen Ryan so much, I'm tired of seeing his face. Like, I need something different. And I think, it's the same thing where it's like, I don't think, to me, it feels like they weren't confident that the movie would stand on its own. Right. And they needed to like just kind of shoehorn every facet of life. We're gonna get the car people with the Odyssey. We're gonna get the soda drinkers with the Coca-Colas. We're gonna get the BuzzFeed fuckers with the puppies. We're gonna get the hot wing fuckers with the wings.
I will say this. A lot of movies and IPs do that. So like the One Piece live action, they all went on all that stuff and did the whole thing. I think the only reason it sticks out more is that Hollywood, they like to beat things to death, right? And Ryan Reynolds, they looked at what he's done with Wrexham, and I think they were just like, that's a formula for marketing. If you can take Ryan fucking Reynolds and make this obscure level 6 football team in England whales, and you can make Americans love it. Ryan Reynolds is the key. You push that as much as you can, and that's what's going to drive it. I think that's what that is.
I mean, his marketing firm is like,
and it worked, but it did work. By the way, I mean, it's going to break all those records.
So. His marketing firm, like his marketing team, is pretty notorious and aggressive, right? Very clearly, and I think even it's been 6 years since the last Deadpool movie came out, and it's become even more of a bigger thing. One thing that I'm interested in, and I've heard from multiple people, like multiple friends, coworkers, others who have seen this movie, is about Ryan Reynolds specifically, and why they cite Deadpool works for them, and maybe other Ryan Reynolds movies don't work for them, is that his face is annoying. And the reason Deadpool works is because his face is covered, right? Like, he's a funny guy, right? If you hear his like, the jokes are funny. But people were like, I see Ryan Reynolds physically too much. Do you think part of the reason Deadpool works and is so successful versus some of his other movies like The Adam Project, which he actually did with Sean Levy, Free Guy, he also did with Sean Levy, all of these other movies that actually feature Ryan Reynolds kind of busted? If, which came out a few months ago, didn't do very well in the box office, right? But Deadpool is the one thing Ryan Reynolds has that really goes above and beyond and really succeeds.
You all know.
Do you think there's something like people just are annoyed by his face?
Well, you know the story of how like Reynolds and Deadpool came to be.
Yeah, of course.
2004, the comics, actually, the Deadpool character in the comics says he's like a cross between Ryan Reynolds and a toupee or something. And like Ryan Reynolds picked up on that, and then that became kind of like his calling sign of like, I want to play this character.
So he was in Blade Trinity, right? So what's also nice about the reunion between Ryan Reynolds and Wesley Snipes is they were in a Blade movie together, and a producer on that movie actually, was like, hey, have you seen this Deadpool character? It's kind of based off of you. And that's when Ryan Reynolds kind of became obsessed with the character. Then they did like the test shoot, him and Tim Miller. And then it got leaked on, but then they went to Fox, and Fox was like, no, we're not going to do this. This doesn't make any sense. Somebody leaked the fan film, and that's when the film actually went into development.
No, I mean, Ryan leaked
Everyone assumes it was Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. Then the movie, they kind of did a low stakes claim on the movie. They only gave it a budget of $60 million, the first movie. Pretty low for a comic book movie, and then it made $850 million worldwide. So it's a good bet. Okay.
Yeah, I think the point there is that there is no Deadpool without Ryan Reynolds, and so while his face is, some might find it annoying, or maybe his shtick might be a little bit annoying, especially if it's overdone. You kind of want to say that he's earned the Deadpool IP, especially since it is kind of an underdog story, I guess, with that backstory there. Maybe he's earned, that right to just splash his face all over it. They need to be smart about it because, I feel like 3 movies is good. I'm curious to see if they go 4, 5, 6. How many? If they try and beat this thing to death, especially with all the records it's going to break. That's why like the aftermath of this is going to be so interesting. And I think there's no having this like little reset here where it's the only live action movie this year. Very smart. I think hopefully they learn something from this and perhaps go back to that. That's why those movies back in the day were so popular, because there was 1 or 2 a year. They were big must-see events. When you start having 6, 4 plus a year, then it's like, I'm going to pick and choose. It's burnout. It's overdone. So, if Disney learns from this, where you make every franchise its own thing. So if Deadpool requires splashing Ryan Reynolds' face everywhere, that's the DNA of the franchise of that. And you just have 1 year and you focus on that, I think that can work very well. Like I'm curious to see what the stuff around like Captain America will be like as we get closer to that movie. Like lean into that DNA of Harrison Ford reprising his role from Air Force One, essentially. And
did you see the joke?
Like, lean into that. Like,
did you all see the joke though about Harrison Ford and how him being president is accurate to modern times, where it's like a 70-year-old running for president?
It's not lost. It's not lost on any of us.
Well, Christian, I do have bad news for you. There is currently 4 MCU movies scheduled for next year in Captain America, Brave New World, the Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Blade. Now, Blade is definitely not going to happen. Fantastic Four doesn't
even started.
Fantastic Four is just beginning to film right now, it's supposed to come out in a year. So that seems unlikely unless the CGI is true dog shit. Captain America obviously seems, they've already put a trailer out. It seems like it's going to come out. And Thunderbolts wrapped filming a little while ago. So those two seem like good. The other two, we'll see.
Yeah, but you're Captain America and Thunderbolts both have reshoots as well. Like,
I mean, all of these movies do. This movie had reshoots, like, very clearly. There's a very clear spot. I think we can all tell where the reshoot was.
But like, where? Captain America has significant reshoots where they've changed like the entire villain. They added in a whole new villain at the last minute to
Robbie, they clearly changed the entire third act of this movie. Do you remember at the end of the second act when the power of friendship defeats Cassandra Nova? And that's supposed to be the end of her arc. And then they come back to Wade's world, and then she's also the villain again because they completely redid that last act. They didn't know what they were doing. They were like, Paradox is not a strong enough villain, or whatever they were going to do didn't work. So they're like, we have to do it this way instead.
Yeah, that was I remember thinking like, oh, that's weird. Like they had this like Wolverine and her connected, like they have an understanding. Yes! And then 2 minutes later, okay, back to beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now she wants to destroy the world again. Forgot about that. Speaking of the movie. Yeah.
Quick aside. I actually really enjoyed that character. I don't know anything
Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, anything about Charles Xavier and having a twin. But that aside, I thought she was great. The performance was great, and another very strong entry into the Ball Brotherhood. We accept Cassandra Nova.
Speaking of Ball Brotherhood, speaking of the movie, Krishna, it is time. I have written you a DVD chapter listing, and I would like you to read this. I've been thinking through our favorite MCU characters, and there was one that actually appeared in the post-credit scene that reminded me of our all-time favorite. He's from an X-Men movie. Yeah, you might remember it. It's probably maybe one of the worst X-Men movies. X-Men Apocalypse. I would like you to read this as Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse. His you don't have to do the CGI voice. Do the one that was like in the trailer. It kind of sounded like interesting and cool. So please, Christian, without further ado, read my DVD chapter listing for Deadpool and Wolverine.
I need some help here because spoiler alert. Okay,
you are all my children.
You are all my children. Yeah, because spoiler alert, I never finished X-Men Apocalypse. I got
truly dog shit.
I got within 15 minutes of the end and I couldn't do it. I just turned it off.
You were like,
real quick,
there's no point.
The X-Men film franchise is fascinating, right? The first two X-Men movies, like the first X-Men movie is okay. X-Men 2 is really good. X-Men 3 is really bad. Then they rebooted it. First Class was like good. Days of Future Past, maybe the peak of X-Men movies were like, holy shit, this is amazing. Then Apocalypse came out, we're like, holy shit, this is really bad. And then Dark Phoenix finished it off and they were really done because like the sale had already gone through with Disney and they were just clearly trying to
don't forget the spin-offs. The Wolverine,
X-Men Origins Wolverine is bad.
Wolverine, and then the next solid. One was Wolverine was okay, and then Logan. And then there's Logan.
Logan was incredible. That's maybe the very best of the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Okay. I am Apocalypse. All right, Arjuna's DVD chapter listing. Logan's NSYNC epilogue. Disney plus synergy. Cameo montage. A place pretending to be the TVA. Mad Pool. Flame On. Bald Sisterhood. Oh, I see what you did. Ryan Reynolds is just like us. There's no sarcasm here at all. Fucking in a Honda Odyssey. The 2000s called and everyone's here except the white dudes. Oh, God. Power of friendship. Bloody one-shots. The power of one, the power of many. Oh, wow. Wow. What the fuck is happening? And they all live happily ever after. My children. I'm gonna rate my own voice there as a 1 out of 10.
Yeah,
I
sounds about right.
know. I don't know what I can't remember what his fucking voice sounds like as
He's Dick in the
Apocalypse.
movie.
So that
Sorry, I
was
don't
like,
think he remembers either. So
oh, that's fair. I feel
We're pretty
better.
sure Oscar Isaac blocked that.
Arjuna, I'm
painful memory
giving
out of his
your
mind.
chapter listing a 4 out of 10. Solid effort.
4,
but
What?
failing. yeah.
What? There's some good
Not
ones
your
in there.
best. Not your
Wow.
best. But it was, it's a solid. It's a solid.
The what the fuck is happening? My favorite line and line delivery in the movie is from Mr. Paradox. It's at the end of the movie. I just want to bring this up because I don't know why this was so funny to me. When our character from Loki comes in and it kind of cleans everything up, and she's flirting with Deadpool's Pete, his best friend, and they have this like really awkward like sexual tension. And the actor that plays Mr. Paradox is from Succession. He plays one of the main characters in the movie or in the show, and he just blurts out, "What the fuck is happening?" Which just felt like a proxy for us as the audience, and I just thought it was like a well delivered and great line, and encompassed my thoughts of the movie at that point. There's even a line, I think, a few lines before where Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is like, "Don't worry, folks, we're almost done with the movie."
Yeah,
home
stretch, folks.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, we're all feeling it a little bit. We are all feeling it. So we actually haven't talked a lot yet about Wolverine, right? This was like a big reveal for the movie. In the marketing, there was a video that came out, I don't know how long ago, like a year plus ago at this point, where Ryan Reynolds is like, "Hey, Hugh, you want to come back for Deadpool?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." Right, and then everyone's like, "Oh my god, well, they're finally doing it. They're finally teaming up." Right, and
wasn't that at Comic-Con 2 years ago?
There was a Twitter video first, right, which was like literally like Ryan Reynolds in a living room, and then Hugh Jackman's like walking up the stairs, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come back for the movie?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And we're like, "He's back," right? And so it was a big deal. Obviously, the marketing really pushed into Wolverine being back. I would argue that this isn't just a Deadpool movie, right? This is just as much a Wolverine movie as it is a Deadpool movie. He is very essentially the co-protagonist in the movie. After the first 20 minutes or so, it takes a little bit for him to show up in the movie, but once he does, he is in it. What did you guys think? Right, obviously in 2017 we had the epic finale that was Logan, maybe one of the best, if not the best, comic book movie of all time. That felt like a really appropriate send-off. Hugh Jackman himself for so many years was adamant in saying that he was retired, he was done with the role. I think everybody had a level of skepticism and was like, well, Kevin Feige is going to convince him one day. Interesting side note, at least what's come out from the press, right, this press run, is that Feige has maintained that he actually told Hugh not to come back multiple times before this, right? He's like, "I think you had the perfect ending, this should be the end," etc., etc. How Reynolds and the director Sean Levy described it was Hugh Jackman called them and was like, "Guys, I've had this epiphany and I want to come back." And this was in the transition between the Fox and Disney sale, and they're like, "Okay, we have our movie." They were still trying to figure out the movie itself, and he came back. What do you guys think of that? Do you think it's interesting Hugh Jackman kind of called his own number and was like, "Yeah, I want to come back"? Is this like a Tom Brady, Brett Favre type of situation where you just don't know when to retire and you're like, "I'm going to come back for one more"? Do you think this undoes Logan at all? And do you want to see more of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, or do you think this is like this should really be it?
So I'll take this one because I think it's actually pretty.
I have a point as well, but you go first.
But I think it's pretty straightforward. It's we're all in our 30s, so thankfully we're not like at that crazy midlife point in life.
Speak for yourself.
But I mean, somebody brought out recently like the average age is like 70, so technically we are in our midlife. But whatever. But I think it's one of those things where it's like it comes down to like relevance in terms of like you as a person, like especially when you're in the entertainment or you're in spotlight. I think there is this like question that these people come up with that have to face this thing of like, what am I doing? Like, yeah, I'm retired from certain characters, certain things, but maybe they were the good times, maybe they were the bad times, but like I want to keep trying to do that same thing because it hits something in that person. And I look at it more as like, I think Hugh Jackman looked at this as like, this is a way to kind of not say necessarily relevant, but I think to like stay young at heart, if you will, and like continue doing something fun that, you know, he has said many, many times since the first X-Men that, you know, him getting the role of Wolverine is like really what started his professional acting
Changed
career.
his life.
He
wasn't even the first choice, you know?
Yeah, and I think it is one of those things where it's like fans have like come up and shown their appreciation for him being that character and maintaining that character and doing other crazy things with his musicals and like showing his talent and stuff. So I think it's like a combination of him giving kind of like back to the fans, but then also I think it's one of those things where it's like, I can do this and God damn it, I'm gonna do it. So I think also the joke of, you know, Hugh, you'll be doing this till you're 90. I think there is like some fact to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll ever see him necessarily say I'm retired Logan again. I think it will be a what if forever and ever and ever. Like I don't think there'll ever be like I'm LeBron James, I'm taking my talents wherever the fuck he took
I mean, it's at this point, right, with the way the movie is tracking, the popularity of the movie, it's hard not to think he's not going to be a central part of the next Avengers movie, right? And again, if you're tracking the MCU since the end of Phase 3, right, Phase 4 and 5, the most popular things have been Spider-Man: No Way Home, Deadpool and Wolverine, which feature these characters that are outside of the MCU: Tobey Maguire, Hugh Jackman. It almost feels like Secret Wars is going to be built around not the MCU characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the new ones they've tried to establish, because they've all failed. Benedict Cumberbatch can't do it. Brie Larson can't do it. But Tobey Maguire can. But Hugh Jackman can. It feels like that is what these movies are going to build up towards, because at the end of the day, it's all business. At the end of the day, they're going to want to make the most money possible. And if you do the financial analysis, it is Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman equal big money. Put them together in new movie and they make more money.
Listen, like who has the spending power? Millennials. What do millennials want? Nostalgia. When do we want it? Now. So that's what we're getting. One thing I want to say on the Hugh Jackman Wolverine thing is that, first of all, he was like my favorite part of the movie. I thought he was really strong. The second thing is, as Hugh Jackman gets older, he's like growing into what Wolverine really is.
He's getting shorter.
We just, yeah. The arthritis is kicking
in.
King. Yeah, that was hilarious. Oh, the comic accurate size.
Yeah, 5'3".
That's how 5'3". I was like, oh god.
Did you guys enjoy the Henry Cavill as Wolverine cameo?
Oh yeah. I was gonna say. I was like, was that like a fan casting? Like, well, I was like, where did that come from?
I think it's been a popular one. You know, obviously he had the whole Superman business with the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson taking over the DCEU for 3 months and, you know, promising him a role, and then obviously that all changing. And he's kind of been like, you know, a man without a home, because he quit, you know, The Witcher series on Netflix, so he hasn't had like an IP. So it almost feels like an IP joke almost, where it's like Henry Cavill come to the MCU, but maybe he will, maybe he won't. Who knows? I mean, it would be if they ever like. That's the other question I have to this, right? That they've obviously cast multiple X-Men, even within the Fox X-Men franchise. A lot of these characters had 2 actors because of the First Class movies and then the original trilogy. They've resisted doing that with Wolverine. Again, with this Deadpool movie, they kind of resisted, obviously, recasting him again. Do you think we actually can ever recast Logan, or is it really just Hugh Jackman's until he dies?
I think it's Hugh Jackman until he dies. I think he is the character at this point. I don't know. Like, I don't know who you could put in that would do as good of a job. I'm sure, you know, there are talented actors, so I'm sure it's probably silly to say, oh, that no one else can do it, right? But I think it's Hugh Jackman. It's his until he says I'm done, or until he bites the bullet.
So on Hugh Jackman, I mean, Feige said with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, he said, you know, there is the possibility in the realm that somebody could come in, but you know, if somebody else comes in to play the Wolverine, it needs to be a new take. It can't be somebody acting like Hugh Jackman acting as the Wolverine. It needs to be something brand new. And while the Henry Cavill thing was really funny and a nice like fan service thing or whatever, you know, in that moment it was very much Henry Cavill playing Hugh Jackman playing the Wolverine. So I still think Henry Cavill could do it, but it needs to be like another take. And it's also similar to like Superman, like the tragedy that happened with Christopher Reeves as Superman. Like for a long time, nobody touched that character because of the tragedy that was everything there. And as time went on, we got Brandon Roth, right, as the new
Brandon
Superman.
Roth, in the 06.
And then we
Superman
got
movie.
obviously Henry Cavill, and we've had other people play Superman on TV with like Lois and Clark or the Superman show, whatever,
Smallville.
And I think like a lot of those actors, especially within the Superman space, they've done very good jobs of like showcasing different versions of Superman. So I think it is possible with Wolverine. I think you may have kind of put yourself in a corner with this movie, Deadpool and the Wolverine, by showing how good like Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds' relationship is, and their character and their dynamic as those characters. So I think it'll be tricky if like Secret Wars comes out and it's a different like Wolverine or something.
People will riot.
Well, what's the question, right? This is not the Logan we are familiar with, right? They did keep Logan dead. They established one of the interesting, in movie universe things that I thought was kind of fascinating was they established that Hugh Jackman's Logan is from the same universe as Deadpool's, right? It's the same Earth. That's why his Earth is disappearing, because
it's called Canada.
He's the nexus being of that universe. So it's like slowly fading out of existence. This Logan is a different one from any of the Logans we've ever seen before. Did you guys feel like Hugh Jackman played that well? Like this is a different version, but a still compelling version of Wolverine. Like how did you feel that worked with everything?
I thought it was great. I thought, and that's sort of like what I was alluding to earlier, where I think Hugh Jackman is becoming Wolverine, as in he's able to portray like the grumpiness and the pain that's sort of inherent with the character of Wolverine. He did great. Like the scene in the car, the Honda Odyssey, right before they start fighting, his like speech there, I was like, that was pretty good. It's pretty fucking good acting. Like he was, I was like, I could feel his anger. I was like, yeah, Hugh Jackman, I think
Hugh Jackman was in a different movie than everybody else.
A little bit, which perfectly works, I think, for the craziness that is right. Deadpool and Wolverine, absolutely. It's kind of like reminds me of like Venom, the first Venom, where like Tom Hardy was definitely doing something different than what the rest of that movie was. Kind of like that, but this was good though. And yeah, so I think I like this. I like this Logan. I like the idea that this is the Logan that actually did walk away. Like instead of like in all the other versions, he like threatens to walk away and walks away, but always comes back. I like the idea that here's one who did walk away. It's almost like a what if. Mm-hmm. And so now what the fuck is he gonna do? And team up with Deadpool. I dig it. I can dig it.
I mean, we've talked a lot about Deadpool himself already, but the one thing I do want to talk about is, do you want more Deadpool movies? Right? This is the third Deadpool movie. I was kind of surprised, maybe not super surprised, but this very much felt like a Deadpool movie. It didn't feel like it was trying to be. This didn't feel like an Ant-Man and the Wasp situation, right? Where it tried to be something that was completely outside of the realm of what the movie was kind of built off of. Obviously, there are bigger stakes here. It's playing in a different sandbox. It brings in Wolverine as a co-protagonist. Do we need Wolverine for Deadpool to work in any sequels? Like, does Deadpool 4 need to feature Wolverine?
I mean, it's an interesting question. Do we even need a Deadpool 4? You feel like 3 movies is quite a lot for a character. Not many Marvel characters have gotten 4 fourth movies. Thor did, and look how that turned out. So, it's an interesting. It's about to make $2 billion though, and people clearly they talk with their wallets, and so if they want more Deadpool, maybe that's what Marvel needs to do, is give them more Deadpool. Perhaps I think the biggest issue Marvel has had with bringing in these other heroes is that it's just like this distinction between mutants and superheroes, right? Essentially, on the outside, there is no distinction. It's just people with powers. But the mutant thing, just introduces this idea of a genetic other, right? It's supposed to be like codified racism. perhaps they just need to do away with the whole distinction of mutants. Just keep it simple for the audiences. But if you are going to do mutants, perhaps then you just explore mutants with Deadpool and Wolverine instead of trying to bring in the entire X-Men, right? And that could be one way to explore that.
You can't, real quick though, I would say you can't just say remove the idea of mutants and it's all just superheroes, because remember the whole thing behind the X-Men is discrimination. Like that is the whole thing. So if you were to do that, that would be a massive disservice. Well, no, I would be up in arms about that.
I would just go with just everyone with powers has mutations in their genetics, which that wouldn't be that hard to do. I don't think. If you have powers, of course your genes have changed, right? So therefore everyone with powers is a mutant, I don't know. And just make everyone hates people with powers. I think that still works perfectly well.
Do you guys think they should run the Iron Man playbook with Deadpool? Obviously the first 3 Iron Man movies came out. Each one made more money than the other. And then after Iron Man 3, right, they could have made an Iron Man 4, Iron Man 5, but they decided to just have Downey be the guy that was in all the movies, right? He was in Civil War, he was in Spider-Man, he was in all the Avengers movies. Like, do you think they do something similar with Deadpool? Like, is it time to maybe do an X-Force movie, right? Which Deadpool is notoriously a part of. Should he be a major part of an X-Men movie? Should he, obviously be a major part of an Avengers movie? Is that maybe the playbook maybe going forward with Deadpool instead of trying to do like a Deadpool 4, which inevitably, if each movie the stakes raises a bit, right? Like Deadpool 1 is just about Deadpool. Deadpool 2 includes time travel with Cable. Deadpool 3 is obviously Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, is there a way to really top that unless you're going, Avengers level type of threats here?
Well, the problem is then you get like the same problem that you have with like the marketing of this movie, where it's just too much of like the same thing. And then it becomes no longer the MCU, it just becomes Deadpool and the MCU. Which, I mean, hey, if that's what they want to do, go for it. But like,
it worked with Iron Man. It worked with Downey, right? Like
for a little bit, but then it was like and then we're seeing the problems of that, where it's like Downey can't do that forever, and he doesn't want to do that forever. But I would imagine at some point Reynolds would also be like, I don't want to do this forever. Like,
true, but if it makes all those movies $2 billion, then why wouldn't you do it until he says no, and then you find your next Messiah?
People
do next Jesus.
People want different things. Like that's how Deadpool became so popular, so interesting, because it was so different from like the norm. If we all of a sudden start making, I'm not saying this is ever gonna happen, but like they're like, okay, every fucking Marvel project's gonna have blood, gore, and dumb fourth wall breaking jokes. At some point, you're gonna be like, I'm going to go watch a musical because it's so different from this shit.
Is that true, though? Because, again, look at it. Like, look at the movies that have been successful for the MCU these last 2 phases. It's the nostalgia-filled No Way Home and now Deadpool and Wolverine, right? That feature characters
very different styles of very different. The nostalgia play is, you're correct. The nostalgia play for sure. But we're talking. Your question was specifically Deadpool. Deadpool is an R-rated gore fest, fourth wall breaking thing. That's the formula that you would have in everything. No Way Home was the nostalgia play and was like a legit heartbreaking story thing.
But you can argue yourself
or a dumbed down Deadpool, right?
You're going to argue, but like the next thing they're going to want to do is like, let's put Deadpool and Spider-Man together, right? In fact, I think Hugh Jackman and Reynolds said something like that. They're like, I want to do that, right? I want to see, like, can we do a PG-13 version? They want to keep challenging themselves. They're going to be like, this is different enough, right? Like, now we're going to do this version of Deadpool. Now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do that. In fact, I don't know if you guys remember, for Deadpool 2, they did a PG-13 cut, right? But they kind of framed around kind of a Christmas Story-esque type of thing, where he's like telling the story to like the kid or whatever, or I don't know the actual reference, but so they've experimented with some of that stuff a little bit before. I just think they're going to bank on the character. The character makes a lot of money, and they're going to be like, let's just continue to overexpose it in all the different ways. I mean, you've seen, look, Deadpool's at Disneyland now. Like, he's literally he's walking around the most family-friendly spot on the planet. Like, they're going to figure out how to make it work in some way, shape, or form.
You know what's interesting? At the time of recording this podcast, it's early Saturday morning before the Hall H Marvel presentation. So a lot of what we're saying right now could become just old news, because it could be like it could just be
minutes.
Kevin Feige, Ryan Reynolds for an hour saying how Deadpool is showing up in this project, this project, this project, this project, this project. So, which is
not going to be the Deadpool.
Have we agreed? I don't know if we've agreed yet. Our next pod is going to be a Comic-Con wrap up pod, right?
Yeah, probably.
So so tune in. Make sure you subscribe, follow, because we'll see if Arjuna's predictions are right.
Christian, did you watch The Boys, the new season of The Boys? You did not, right?
No.
So just a small spoiler for The Boys season 4, which it was a really funny. There's a really funny scene where Vought does like their whole MCU version, right, of their movie franchise, and they do the actual like movie chart that the MCU has trotted out, but it is so large and obnoxious, and people did screen grabs of it to see all the different titles that they came up with, and Eric Kripke and the whole creative team was like, yeah, we were just like in the writer's room for a day coming up with like the most ridiculous titles possible.
Isn't the irony there that The Boys is becoming the MCU with like
Correct.
all the spin-offs?
Speaking of San Diego Comic-Con, The Boys had a panel yesterday, and they announced another Boys spin-off called Vought Rising,
which is becoming the very thing that they're making fun of.
Which is a prequel starring Soldier Boy, Jensen Ackles, and the actress that played Stormfront, the Nazi hero girlfriend of Homelander in season 2 and 3. So it is actually quite hilarious.
They're becoming the very thing that they swore made fun of. Which is hilarious.
Couple things I still want to hit on the film itself. We got to talk about the cameos, right? We've mentioned a little bit about Blade's cameo. Again, major spoilers. We've been spoiling the whole movie this entire time, but other big ones are Jennifer Garner as Elektra, Daphne Keane as X-23, and maybe Chris Evans not as Captain America, but as Johnny Storm. There's quite a few X-Men, cameos with the original actor. I think Tyler Mane played Sabretooth, the actor who played Pyro from X-Men 2 and X-Men 3. But maybe my favorite cameo was Channing Tatum as Gambit. Because this is a deeper cut. I don't think the common fan understands this one. Maybe like the regular kind of moviegoers, but Channing Tatum was attached to play Gambit for a long time within Fox. He was actually supposed to originally appear in X-Men Origins Wolverine as the Gambit that shows up there. He had scheduling conflict, couldn't make it work. That movie was really highly unpopular, so we're like, Channing Tatum, please come back. And then they actually let him develop a Gambit movie for a long time. It was in development hells for years. He was actually attached to direct it at one point. Kind of the playbook that's become pretty popular in Hollywood. He even did a write of this. He even wrote a version of the script himself. He really this was a passion project for him. He's like, I want to play Gambit. Never happened until Deadpool and Wolverine, where he shows up and Channing Tatum is amazing in comedy. Like he's actually like 21 and 22 Jump Street work because of his comedic timing. It's great. It's great when he has this comedic tone, and there's so many good jokes in here where they talk about when these characters talk about being in the void. He's like, I feel like I was born here. I never actually existed. The accent player is really funny, like putting on an over the top, like really bad Louisiana accent.
To the point where I don't actually understand what the fuck he just said.
We actually have to ask our friend Floyd, who is from Louisiana, to actually judge the accent itself.
Translate it for us.
Yeah, exactly. It is actually hilarious. But what were your guys' favorite cameos? Like, what worked for you? Were there any that you wish kind of happened? Like, do you wish we got any of the original X-Men? I know there was like is Magneto? Did we get Fassbender or McKellen in here? What worked for you, and what did you wish that there kind of was in the movie?
I loved them all. I thought they were all really good. I think the two that I really like my mouth fell open, I think was like Wesley Snipes, because that one was like so left. I was like, I thought he was retired. I didn't even think it was
for my theater specifically. Wesley Snipes, I think, got the loudest ovation. Of everybody.
When he came out, it wasn't even an ovation. It was just a collective. Everyone was like, "Oh my god!" Like everyone was speechless. It was a great reaction. I think it was great. He's still like Wesley Snipes exudes cool. Mm-hmm. Right, like he's maybe like he does that so well and better than anybody maybe. I thought the like I kind of mentioned before, the Johnny Storm, Johnny Evans,
Johnny Evans, Chris Evans, and Johnny Storm combined for Johnny Evans.
That was so funny, and they gave him like that Boston or New York whatever accent that was. You know, the mid credits or the end credit scene, the post credit scene. You know, with him like reciting that was really funny, and you could tell almost right off the bat that there was something off about this Captain America. Yeah, because you thought it was Captain America, right? When you first see him, and you're like, oh, there's something weird about him. You just toss it up to him being like a variant, right, of Captain America, and then he's like, no, it's not Captain America at all. That was great. There were two things I wish that they would have done. I think I wish there would have been a little bit more with X-23. Not a whole lot more, but just a little more, because she was so important in Logan. That I would have liked to just see a little bit more, and we got the nice scene with her and Wolverine. But I just wanted a little bit more there. And then I think the one that I really would have loved to have seen was James McAvoy as Charles Xavier. I think he's done such a good job of just playing the younger version, of Patrick Stewart, or that younger version of that character. And I don't know if you could have gotten him in Fassbender, even in like running around or something, like in the void, like non-speaking. Even
he's too buff now. He's I don't know if you've seen trailers for that new horror movie that he's going to be in September. Speak No Evil.
Yeah, like Speak No Evil.
He's like back. He's back into like split shape.
Yeah.
When he got yoked for that. Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, CGI.
He's too jacked. He's too jacked to be.
No, you can CGI it. It's fine.
Just have Patrick Stewart's body in his head.
Oh God.
Boom. I would say the only cameo that I was kind of hoping for was actually Ian McKellen, as Magneto, just because it feels like if you look at like the big three in X-Men, Logan, Wolverine, Logan, Magneto, and Xavier. Like, it feels like Logan and Xavier kind of got their end with the Logan film. Like, we kind of see where they end up. Obviously, Xavier's ending is not the prettiest. His mind fractures and everything. But, like, with Magneto, at least, it just feels like he's kind of just put to the side off camera and whatnot. Like, he's a more complex character, and I thought it would have been kind of cool to see where he ends up. But again, maybe, as I say it out loud, maybe not this film because of how goofy it is. To have like more of a dramatic ending for him.
Yeah, I mean, McKellen's last appearance was Days of Future Past, which came out 10 years ago at this point, right? And even that isn't like necessarily a goodbye. They're in this awful future together, and then it gets erased because they change it. Then Fassbender played the role for 2 more movies, and those weren't super great either. So yeah, it doesn't feel like any of the Magneto actors really got their proper goodbye.
Yeah,
but
maybe that's Secret Wars. Maybe you bring back McKellen for that.
He is 85 years old. I will say this. McKellen is 85, so you're going to get a very frail.
He also recently had a fall. He recently, like, I don't know if you guys saw this, like a month ago, he like fell, and he's okay and everything, but it's scary stuff, right? He is older.
He's probably on his way out to be, morbid, but true.
Hey, Jimmy Carter, as of the recording of this taping, is still alive. He is going to make it to 100. October 1st.
Damn. That is crazy. It's amazing what charity work will do.
Let's talk about anyway. One thing that did not work for me was the Deadpool gang, which is, in the third act, all these Deadpool variants kind of come through, and they have this kind of big one-shot fight scene, which I think was supposed to be cooler than it felt. Like, we've had a lot of these one-shots that have been in a lot of these action movies. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 had it. There's been a lot of these films that have kind of had it. Daredevil, famously in season 1 on the Netflix show, had like the hallway scene. This just felt like a cheesy imitation of it. And I think the whole like Deadpool gang itself felt like it was supposed to be a bigger reveal or be more fun. But it wasn't. What did you guys think about it? Like, did it work for you? Having all these different Deadpool variants that didn't necessarily matter kind of come in. It also felt like they stayed on the pretty Ryan Reynolds is like a variant that can't do anything, like a beat too long. But yeah, what did you
Be
guys think?
too long where he's using him as a shield just to get his gold gun.
It was too much.
They should have iced him when they got to the Honda Odyssey.
Yeah,
as opposed to like setting up of I'll get dog pool when you go or whatever. But overall, I mean, again, I think it ties into like the overall theme of the film, which is like silliness and just kind of out there and extremes and all that. I mean, the silliest thing, there were two things. Like when they bust out of the back of the bus, that CGI was horse garbage. And then the other thing that really took it out is when Pete shows up. And everyone's like, "Oh, Pete," and then it's like, "Okay, we can move on." It's like just a convenient way to like end the fight or whatever.
Right.
I mean, it was done. It was just done for the coolness factor and playing the Madonna song and yeah. But I mean, that's what it was there for, and that's that. So
yeah, it didn't. I think to Ravi's point, it didn't like move the needle either way. Like it was almost, if I think back to it, I'm like, yeah, that was a thing. They probably thought it would probably hit harder or mean more than it ended up being. The Pete thing I thought was funny just because of the line. I think a little bit later when Wolverine asks Deadpool, like, have you ever been diagnosed with ADHD? And he's like, no, but I got an STD. And then Pete comes, everyone's like, yeah, Pete. They all get distracted by Pete. I was like, oh yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So in that way, I was like, oh, okay, I like that. But yeah, it was just sort of like what if you're gonna think about like the top moments in the movie, that fight scene. It was a little weird because Wolverine's like head was like CGI'd, so that was kind of weird. And then that last shot where they jump out of the bus, that was all like it felt CGI. So that was a little bit strange. So yeah, it was. They tried to go for a cool action shot. It didn't turn out to be as epic as they were probably hoping for.
Yeah, I think it might be the biggest miss of the movie, right? I think it's something that they probably banked on being pretty big, and it just kind of fell flat. Obviously, there's enough, I think, within the movie itself for people to move on from it pretty quickly. Yeah. But I did think that was an interesting misstep. What did we think of the cow? Like, we got the obviously comic accurate Wolverine costume, and then he actually dons, Wolverine dons the actual famous cow. Obviously the cynic from the production standpoint of me is like, okay, they did that so they could have the stunt double for Wolverine and CGI some stuff, CGI the abs and everything a little bit.
No, that's real. I'm believing that Hugh Jackman really got those abs. So you shut the fuck up.
He is old.
Hey, if it means that a 55-year-old in Hollywood who's got all the money and trainers in the world can do that, then that means I can do that one day.
No, true.
When you also have all the trainers and money in Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
But what did you guys think of?
Started his acting like he got big in his early 30s. So
yeah.
Arjuna, so time for you. Christian and I are fucked.
But what did you guys think? Did you like the cow? Did you like seeing the iconic kind of costume, or did you think it didn't work in the live action?
I thought the cow looked just hideous. I thought it would have been better.
It was weird. It was weird. Like, it didn't look right.
It looked weird. It looked like it was an afterthought.
Also, it looked like the right side was slightly askew from the left side. Like it didn't look symmetrical. And maybe that was the point. Maybe they're going for this really goofiness because it's like this is what the fans wanted all this time. So here's a goofy version of it. Maybe that's what they're going for.
My favorite costume actually was during the cameo of all the variants of Wolverine. They showed the first costume, right? The orange and black Wolverine costume.
Uncanny.
Yeah, and I was like, that one was really cool. It actually looked good in live action. I was like, that's the one. That's the one we should get. That's the one. Okay, before we get to bold predictions, anything else with the movie, the MCU connections, the characters that you guys wanted to touch on, and should we get to the old bold predictions for the future of Deadpool, Wolverine, the MCU, Kevin Feige's health, Disney as a corporation, the future of the United States?
Did you just say Kevin Feige's health? I don't think you can say that.
We could. Well, this is bold.
Say whatever we want.
We could go anywhere. It's a bold prediction. Wait till you hear mine. Just kidding.
Wait, is Kevin Feige bald? Is that why he wears a hat?
I think so.
Oh, well, there we go.
But we don't know. We don't really see his head. It could be anything under
I think I've seen his head once.
from far away.
From far away.
Was he bald?
I think so. I'm pretty sure he is bald. That's why he wears the hat.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
But
he's
yeah,
got,
anything
like, the weird side haired thing, and like he hasn't like fully committed yet. So.
Oh, like dad for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I mean, he's a dad too, so it makes sense.
Wow. Yeah. Anything else before we get to bold predictions that you guys wanted to touch on for the movie?
No.
All right, let's do it. Bold predictions for this could be anything. It could be as bold. Like we could be like, this is the last MCU movie of all time. This is the last movie of all time.
Stupid.
But Ravi, let's start with you. What is your bold prediction?
My bold prediction is
for
quite
the future
simple.
of everything.
It's gonna be Ryan Reynolds will retire from the Deadpool character in 2 weeks.
Wow.
My thing is he's gonna be like, I did what I wanted to do. I'm done, and somebody else could. What I mean by retire is I think he's gonna pull a Pedro Pascal Mandalorian, where anybody can don the Deadpool suit. You just need the voice, and also with artificial intelligence and voice mimicking and all that fun stuff now, there is no need for Ryan Reynolds to like even be in a recording studio. So there you go. He's done.
The one difference I would say is like Ryan Reynolds, I think clearly is all in on Deadpool, right? Like his hands.
Bold prediction.
No, for sure. But like it is interesting, like how obsessed he is with it, right? Like I don't know how deep you guys have gone into the history of Deadpool, but like each movie has had a different director. Like Tim Miller was the first director of Deadpool, and did not come back for the sequel because he and Ryan Reynolds clashed immensely, right? Because he was a director, he had vision, and Ryan Reynolds is like, a Hollywood prima donna and was like, this is my movie, this is my vision, do what I want. Different director for Deadpool and Deadpool 2, who was the Keanu Reeves' former stunt double, who did David Litch, who did the first what's that movie called where he has the dog and
John Wick.
He did the first John Wick movie. He did the Ryan Gosling action movie that came out a few months ago. He did the second one, I believe, and then this was Sean Levy, who did a few other Ryan Reynolds movies and seems to be like a Ryan Reynolds guy. So like I feel like it could be the opposite. I feel like he'll be like, I am directing the next Deadpool movie.
Why not? See that happening?
Why not?
Yeah.
Real quick aside, as actors directing, have you guys seen Monkey Man?
Not yet.
Yes.
Shocking. I was shocked at how much I liked that movie.
It's not a great movie, but
no,
like,
it's just entertaining as hell.
It was very entertaining. Very entertaining. And like
for a guy who starred, wrote, and directed, very strong.
I'm very excited for Dev Patel's future. Very excited for Dev Patel's future.
Anyways,
sure.
So yeah, if
Deadpool 4,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that if Ryan Reynolds wants to direct and star and write in his own movies, go over to Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw Productions. Get on that train, because that's what they're about over there.
Well, this movie had five people credited as the writer for the movie, including Ryan Reynolds. So, a lot of cooks in the kitchen, as they say. Christian, what is your bold prediction for the future of our lives?
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, that's a great one. I don't know.
I mean, all right. Look, let's just talk it out, right? Movie's making a lot of money. The Disney has seen now audiences want Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool, and so I think they will lean more into this. In fact, here's my bold prediction. They're going to try and use Deadpool to resuscitate some of their less popular characters. So I think we see down the line a Deadpool She-Hulk team up. I think we see Deadpool leading a completely random group of heroes like Shang-Chi and I don't know, some of those other guys. I think that they strategically, and maybe not so strategically, maybe it's a hammer and everything's a nail. Maybe they just try and shoehorn him into all of these shows and or movies.
Christian, go bolder. Say Right, the Deadpool Disney Plus show is coming, and each episode is a different team up with the Disney Plus Marvel star.
Yeah, why not?
Oh,
it would work.
man.
It would work for. I mean, that could work better than the She-Hulk. What She-Hulk tried to do in that like the irreverence of the Deadpool character lends itself to more comedy, whereas She-Hulk is trying to. She-Hulk is her own character trying to do like real serious things, right? And so trying to blend that didn't quite work. So anyway, yeah there you go. When is Disney buying Sony or getting Venom? Because a Venom Deadpool team up would be fun as hell.
But they are advertising this third Venom movie as the final movie. They're calling it Venom: The Last Dance. They're saying it's the final Tom Hardy Venom movie, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess we'll see.
I'm just saying,
Sony is in talks, I think, to buy Paramount, and also Apple is potentially in talks to buy Sony. So if that happens, if Sony ever gets bought and Paramount ever gets bought, I believe the Spider-Man rights would automatically go back to Disney and Marvel.
Would they get Venom?
Yeah, they would get all the Spider-Man character.
Because I'm just saying, Ryan Reynolds, Tom Hardy, where you have it'd be two ends of the spectrum. Ryan Reynolds playing his annoying face shtick, and then Tom Hardy, who takes every character way too seriously and then also mumbles all the time. Just having them fight both in the movie and on set. The drama around that movie would
on
be
set.
Epic. It would be absolutely epic. I'd be all in for the documentary on the making of the Venom Deadpool movie.
Fun fact: when I was making the outline for this Deadpool and Wolverine pod, this is our 293rd. Was it good? I believe our 11th or 12th episode ever was on Deadpool 2 in 2018. So we've been around for 6 years, is what I'm trying to say.
Jesus Christ.
I have a 2-pronged bold prediction, and it actually is around Comic-Con specifically. So this will be answered pretty quickly. Well, one part. My first part is Chris Evans will come out for Comic-Con this weekend and be returning as Captain America. I think that his inclusion in this movie, and a large inclusion, right? It wasn't just like a one-shot cameo. He was in quite a few scenes and was a plot point in the movie. I think he will be returning as Captain America. I think unlike Robert Downey Jr., he has not had a lot of post-MCU success. And to use the Thanos meme, you do all this stuff, and where does that bring you? Back to me, right? We've also seen, I'm sure we've all seen the rumors at this point that the Russo brothers are in talks to direct
that's
Avengers
not rumor.
Secret Wars.
That's factual now.
Yeah, they're in talks. It's not, but it's not confirmed. They haven't signed the dotted line yet, but that is in the works. And I just think all the former players, probably besides Downey Jr., because he did not show up in this movie. They had Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau's Happy Hogan, in between him, allegedly trying to make the Mandalorian show up in this movie.
Oh boy,
I think Oppenheimer probably helped him, regain a different status level with an Academy Award. Because before that, Doolittle and all the other shit that he was producing was doing nothing. So good for him. Good for him that he doesn't have to necessarily return. But yeah, so my first part of my bold prediction, Chris Evans will be trotted out later today in his epic return as Captain America. And exactly 1 year from today, because I think they're going to focus on Fantastic Four and some of the more immediate things. 1 year from today at next year's Comic-Con, they will trot out Hugh Jackman, Tobey Maguire, Ian McKellen, and Patrick Stewart as all your favorite early 2000s heroes, and announce them as the principal cast for Avengers Secret Wars.
Jesus. That second one is bold. And that first one is Oh, interesting. All right. Well, I like that. I like that we can verify yours. Oh, I guess we could verify all of them, right? But
I mean, I don't think they're going to come out and just like say who's going to be in Secret Wars. I think they're going to do what they did with this film.
The whole point to keep it secret.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they're just
because I think it's a difference, right? Again, like they didn't keep the Hugh Jackman part a secret because he was.
They kept all the cameos.
I don't think these guys are cameoing in the movie. I think they are leading the movie. I think like Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman are going to be the leads of the movie. I think. Part of my bold prediction is this. This movie is making so much money. Captain America 4, I think, will kind of continue the recent trend we've seen at the box office with the MCU, where they're trying to take, B-list characters and try and make them A-listers, and it's not necessarily going to work. And you're going to have that. You're going to have Thunderbolts, and I think people will be like, this is kind of average. It's not great. It doesn't have all the big stuff that we necessarily want. And I think Disney and Marvel will double down and be like, these are not the lead characters to lead our future heroes. We're not going to just dig back and bring back Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. We're going to bring back the former stars before the MCU. So I think with the new movies that are coming, next year to the MCU, Captain America 4, Thunderbolts, I think those will continue the recent trend of Marvel movies of kind of underwhelming at the box office, not doing well critically. And I think Disney and Marvel will just double down and be like, these are not the characters to lead the next Avengers movie. We're going to bring back the pre-MCU characters. We're going to bring back the Hugh Jackmans, Tobey Maguires, who have already succeeded in the box office, and have them lead the way because we don't trust anybody else. So that's the way it's going to happen. That's why it's my bold prediction. But gentlemen, it's that time to answer the age-old question of this movie. Ravi, was Deadpool and Wolverine, cameos galore, good?
It was good. It was a fun movie, and I will see it again. Probably not in theaters because I hate people.
Classic. You're going to watch it on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. Coming soon. In 5 or 6 months.
It'd be funny if I was like, no, I'm anti-Disney Plus. I will buy it.
I will buy
VHS.
a DVD.
Yeah.
Not a Blu-ray, but a DVD.
Blu-ray. I'll buy a converter to convert it to VHS, and then I will watch it on VHS.
Nice.
What was the VHS? What was the VHS competitor? Like Blu-ray, HD DVD. What was like the one that was also VHS but died out?
Mini disc?
No, there's like there's a smaller version of it.
Yeah. Okay. Remember.
Anyway, Krishna,
go ahead.
Was Deadpool and El Wolverino good?
Yes, it was very good. I'm still not back in on the MCU
because you're a Fox stan. You're a Fox stan.
Exactly. Them dancing on Fox's grave just drove home that Disney has killed Fox. So therefore, they've killed competition, which means they will just slowly homogenize back to their usual MCU standards in the very near future. So this was a one-off. It was good. I don't expect it to continue. Arjuna, thank you for hosting.
You're welcome.
And
Fuck
also,
your internet.
Fuck your internet. Was Deadpool and Wolverine good?
Yes, it was good. It was an enjoyable experience that I think you should see in the movie theater. It is a communal experience that you should see on the big screen. I kind of alluded to this throughout the pod, but I actually don't think this is a movie per se. Like, I don't think this is like if you look at it from like, is this a movie? Does this work as like an actual story? It doesn't necessarily hold up. I don't think it's a good movie, but I do think it's a enjoyable experience. It's almost like a theme park ride, to quote Martin Scorsese, and that's okay. Like, I think if you know the expectation going in of what this is, you'll be fine. But if you're expecting like real cinema or like a great plot, this is not the movie for you, right? This movie, I don't think anyone here is saying like that was the most amazing plot we've ever seen, even in a comic book movie. It's probably bottom tier because it's a pretty flimsy plot in a lot of ways.
Jeez, tell us how you
but
really
again,
feel.
That's okay. That's okay. It's not made to be that. It's not supposed to be Logan. That's gonna do it for us here on this very special edition of Deadpool and Wolverine, our What's a Good Pod, that had many starts and stops, maybe like the movie itself. I want to thank Christian and Ravi for joining me. You can watch us here on youtube.com/wasitgood. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at What's a Good Pod, on Twitter at What's It Good. You can check out our website, what'sitgood.info. Blogs coming soon. Christian's been hard at work on those. He's got a team of 5-6 writers, just like Deadpool and Wolverine, to help him with that. Follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll have another podcast probably coming soon here, probably on wrapping up Comic-Con and what's going on there, unless nothing happens at Comic-Con. And then maybe we won't have a pod on that. Who knows? We'll see. Just follow all those previous socials before. Until then, I'm your host, Arjuna, joined by my two brothers, Christian and Ravi. Thank you for joining us. And remember, go buy a Honda Odyssey.